Welcome to the Blackburn End live podcast. It's transfer deadline day, and we believe again. We wavered a little bit. We're human. We supported certain players. We wavered again, and we began to question. But here we are. We're back. We're feeling all warm and positive about our beloved Rovers. But let's check out the headlines. So Rovers bounced back and beat Preston 2-1 at Ewood Park. Travis returns to the starting lineup, and what a difference it made. Gueye is proving the doubters wrong, but is that because we're using him differently, or was it just the confidence he needed to boost? Blackburn go on to face QPR and then Wolves in the FA Cup, so it's going to be quite a busy week, but it's nothing busier than these new signings that have started to come through the door. We don't know much about them, let's be honest, but we're going to talk about it now. But Mark, I feel better this week. How about you?
I don't know what we were worried about, Mike. Everything was always going to be hunky-dory. I was never worried.
No. I mean, to be honest, we wavered. We're human. There's people that have called us out. We'll get to that in a bit, about being a bit negative. But it's a privilege to be here with you, my friends. And let's get into the Friday's game that made us feel all positive and warm again. So before we do that, let's just play the audio reaction. Well, Marky boy, I've got to say, we don't make it easy, do we? But great win. I can start to believe again now. I'd wavered for a couple of weeks. We've always been realistic fans. We don't claim to be pundits or journalists, but we are fans. And I think all of us were getting a bit upset. But that makes us feel a bit better. A bit frustrated at the end there that Pears bottled it a little bit and gave them an in. I was getting a bit frustrated with Dolan. I know that I keep battering Dolan, and there's going to be a lot of people that said he had a good game. But I mean, when you really dig deep down and look at it, a lot of the possession he has ends up with the opposition having possession at the end of it. So yeah, I was getting a bit worried. But Gueye, back to believing in him again. And was it a penalty? Was it not? Probably harsh on Preston, but it was a penalty. And could they have had a penalty at the end? Well, I'm obviously going to say no, and it was the right result. But yeah, very positive, very happy, and can't wait to talk about this one with you, mate.
We will say that all day long, Mikey boy. I thought we looked up for it from minute one. At the very least, we're going to be competitive there. If we're being brutally honest, they're the better of the first half. But I thought Gago was tremendous throughout, held the ball up well, good touch. Always an option for us to go along. And if you put it in an area, Gago scores. Simple as. We just need to do that a little bit more often. I thought we were still running on empty towards the end. It really didn't work going 3 at the back because then they didn't know who to pick up, and that causes a few problems. But that aside, I thought we looked pretty comfortable. Looked like an absolute assault on Iam right from the Blackburn End. Interestingly, in the Blackburn End, Mr. Cogbo was in the posh seats in the box behind us, and he got a little rendition of "He's One of Our Own." Not sure he understood a word of it, but it'll ding dang do for me.
Yes, and it'll ding dang do for me as well. What was it like seeing a new signing paraded before the game?
I didn't know what to do myself. Didn't see it on my phone. Came in the crowd. I was walking just around in the career. We're pleased to announce our new signing. I was like, what? Preston are announcing a signing. I don't know what's going on. And there he was, Mr. Cardboard, all 5'8" of him. What a monster man he is. Sat in the Blackburn End in the box behind us. Seems happy to be here, doesn't he? He looked, obviously, I haven't seen that much of him, Mark. I don't know about you, but looking forward to seeing him play.
No, this is up there with the Ohashi Gueye signings for me, where I've been scrambling around all day. Supposed to be working, supposed to be coaching in the evening. I'm there on my phone, frantically Googling some players that were being linked to, and he was definitely one of them. But getting into that Preston game, and before we get into it, obviously we are live today. So what would be good if people can comment actually saying what they thought about the game. And so rather than me going on to the posts, I'm going to read some of your comments out after this review. So for a start, Mark, the starting lineup, there was no real shocks there, were there?
No, I was pleased with that. I was glad Travis was back, and I think that played out in the game. We just look a far better team with him in the side, don't we?
Yeah, and I've done a couple of stats about Travis actually, not too in depth. It was just quite simple. He had 7 games out, and the only win we had was against Portsmouth. So it just goes to show how much Travis means to the team that he comes back in, and he first came back, and it's a relatively tough one, and we get that win. So, yeah, to have him back, to have Travis back in the team was great. Looking at some of the players, I was a little bit worried before this game. Not going to lie, there was a few people that called us out for not being positive enough, and being quite negative. But ultimately, when we've been negative, the team tends to respond after. So half of me was thinking, it's going to be okay, because whenever we moan, normally the game after, they make us look like absolute mugs. But yeah, how was your feeling before the game? What was the atmosphere like?
I mean, obviously on Monday, I think the negativity around the lack of signings and things have played a part. We then had the defeat at Oxford. We then had the Bristol City one, where I felt so sorry for the players that get on their feet, and you just thought, come on, give them some help. And it was coming from that place, really. As the week went on, you start to think, Friday night under the lights, you're up for the game. It's going to be a decent atmosphere. I didn't know we were having the Icelandic drumming quartet joining us in the Blackburn End, but yeah, you knew it was going to be a good atmosphere, and I thought, yeah, I'm bang up for this. Travis is playing. You start to look at it, you think, do you know what? They've had more or less a week off now. We should be bang up for the game. Park the signings for a bit, and team comes out. Pretty pleased with the team. I was glad we went back to 4 at the back as well. I'll come on to the 5 at the back after, but yeah, I think we've not really criticised. I've criticised individuals now and again, but not really the team. Our criticism is about, we can see that they're absolutely flogging their guts every single week, above and beyond in some cases, when they're probably unfit and shouldn't be on the pitch. And we just wanted some help for them. And obviously, we're at 10-9 on transfer deadline day, and we've still not got all the help we need.
Well, actually, to talk about that, I mean, let's talk about the fact that people talked, and it wasn't just pointed at us. There's other content creators for Rovers that got called out for being negative, and there was like some of the local journalists were called out, and fans were calling out fans. And the thing is me and you, we are fans. We don't claim to be journalists, we don't claim to be pundits or anything like that. We give an opinion, and if people accept it, great. If they don't, well, cope. It's they don't they don't have to listen. But for us, when we look at the club and we see the potential that it has, and we've had this run of form, and there doesn't seem to be a way out of it. And the way I see it is, everyone is accountable for a loss or a bad run of form in a club. I mean, it's sports, it happens, but we're here to discuss like why it's happening, and we can't just keep saying, well, that's football, and then smiling and carrying on. Sometimes we do need to dig deep and discuss what we think are potentially the issues. And that includes players, managers, coaches, the owners, as well as us fans. I think a lot of the times with us, we do talk about how the fans are quite negative. But generally, when I look around X and social media, I talk to people, I talk to you, most fans are very positive about Rovers generally. Like, we're proud to be Rovers fans. We're very easily pleased if they go out there, play their socks off, and and we're in the game. We normally come away relatively happy. But when we see the obvious issues, the fact that we just need to get a few more bodies in, we're not asking for £30 million strikers like other clubs are paying for. To bring in. We're happy with the Gago that I've never heard of before today, and he's going to be my hero tomorrow. That's just how it goes with Rovers fans, and I'm happy with that. So to talk about us being a bit over negative, I'm a passionate fan. I'm a passionate fan. You're a passionate fan, and other people are.
Mm.
And I think it's okay that we're a bit negative. But when we go into this Preston game, and Preston, they play a certain way, and we've been playing relatively tired and struggling. I was really worried, but I thought that first half, I was impressed with our energy. I was impressed with our endeavour. And once again, I thought, they bounced back after a pretty poor run and do really well. I mean, what did you think of the first half as a whole?
I was really pleased. I thought we started the game really well. We obviously had that run of 3 defeats, but every single time we've had a little spell like that, we've had it 3 or 4 days solid on the training ground, turned it right around. So I had faith in the fact that they could do that. My question was about, and it certainly wasn't about their heart, it was about their fitness and things like that, really. I thought we started the game really well. I thought there was not loads in the game, but I thought we looked the more comfortable. There was a spell that Preston had in that first half when I did just think, oh, is this a confidence thing here where we've not gone 1-0 up, and it could have built into some more, but it didn't. We nullified it. They didn't really cause as many threats. I thought we played how we have played in the past this season. We weren't at our free-flowing best, if you like, but we were more akin with what I've seen all season. And a lot of that had to do with Lewis Travis being in the midfield and the energy he brings. I thought Buckley did okay alongside it, and then did exactly like the previous game. He did a couple of nice things and then a couple of things that 5-yard balls that he couldn't pass. But Owen Beck looked better for the rest, I thought. I thought he looked full of energy again, and so did Callum Britton. And those two managed to get us so far up the pitch that you've always got a chance. Dolan was buzzing around now. I know he's a bone of contention with everybody. There's 2 sides to Tyrese Dolan. There's the side where he's 22. He's played 150 games in the Championship. If you signed him and you YouTubed him, he like Carlos Villanueva, the second coming. When we watch him week in, week out, I think we look at the 150 games and think, hey, he should be learning. He should be doing this. He should be doing that. But I don't know. I mean, he's always fit. He drives us up the pitch now and again. He's just so frustrating because, a bit like the Sam Gallagher, when we go back to him, he's got something, and you can be more than what we see right now. It's just whether it clicks with him. But all in all, I thought it was a decent first half performance, and it was capped off with a goal. I know people were praising Dolan for the goal, and he's got a crossing. We asked him to simplify his game. Wasn't the best cross in the world, let's be honest. It was by Gueye's ankles, and it was in front. The defender probably should have got to it, but Gueye, on the form he's in right now, had an absolute storming first half. He was holding everything up. His touch looked unbelievable, which had not always been there. The only thing that was missing was a goal threat from him. Lo and behold, we put one ball into the box, and it was a half chance really. It was sort of knee high. He gets in front of the defender, he bullies his way in, and a goal. I just wish we'd do that more often for him, but yeah, I thought it was a decent first half, to be fair. Off Gibson there, glad to have Travis back. I thought Gago was brilliant. Completely agree. I think we look a completely different team with Lewis Travis. And we said that when he got injured, didn't we, Mike? And this is one of them, oh my goodness, look at us, aren't we clever? I don't think it took a rocket scientist to work it out, but he was the massive miss. When he got injured that game against Millwall, we were looking at the Burnley game, we were looking at the games, and we were going, Travis is going to be a big miss here.
Yeah, and talking about that first half with the cross, Sorry 77's put Dolan, incredible crosser, just needs to keep doing it. Let's talk about Dolan just a little bit, because as Sam Gallagher leaves, another one has to take his place and take my frustration. And I'm sorry, that is Dolan. And I completely agree. I think he is a good crosser of the ball, but it's getting him into his head when to do that, because it's absolutely crazy how much talent he's got, and this sounds really harsh, but we've said it time and again, how little football intelligence he has. Like I said at the top of the show, Gueye's now getting a bit of confidence, and we're playing to his strengths a little bit. So why Dolan feels the need to do these pirouettes, turn back, cut back, rather than just beat a man and cross it like proper 90s football. But sometimes just having a bit of a throwback way of playing football works. Look at the Man City way of playing. Now it's not quite working as well because people are figuring it out. And there's other teams now actually going back to playing an old school style of football. And there's a place for it. And the thing with Dolan now is he's showing flashes of what we want out of him, which means that Gueye's now showing flashes of what we want out of him. And if they can just work together, because sometimes I feel like they're mates, and sometimes I feel like Dolan gets really annoyed with Gueye, and now Gueye started to step back a little bit. It's weird, isn't it? And you can really see it on the pitch. And it's like, hang on, are you mates or not mates? Because... or maybe they're such good friends, they're now like a married couple. But yeah, I got quite frustrated with Dolan because we did the same against Bristol. What did he do? Stood his man, beat him, cross. Obviously, Gueye hits the post, but we get a goal out of it. And what do we do again this time? Beats his man, gets a cross in. Gueye will put his body and heart and soul on the line to go and get that ball, and he gets that. And now we're seeing Gueye do that. We now want Dolan to do more of that. So yeah, I am getting frustrated with Dolan because I do think he's got a hell of a lot of talent. I still don't think he'll be with us next year. I think he's decided himself that he wants to go. So yeah, as far as I'm concerned, first half extremely solid, and we went into the second half, and to be honest, we kind of carried it on, didn't we?
We did. I thought we looked, the goal gave us a bit of confidence. I thought we looked more comfortable. I mean, I'm going to widen it a little bit from Dolan. I think Chris Sutton did a piece when I watched it back about Gueye saying he doesn't always make the runs into the box. And when Britain played that ball, he should have been there. But I think that's because we don't consistently do it. So he's not necessarily expecting that ball in the box. I do think when Britain's going forward, as much as Britain gets forward, and I think, listen, who am I to advise Callum Britton how to play football? He's had a storming season, he really has. But he doesn't always need to go to the byline for me. Now, this must be a tactical thing. But I just think when he's getting over that halfway, we've seen he can ping a ball in the box, just floating it into an area in the box, getting big and strong enough, ugly enough to get his head on it. And I'd like to see us do that a little bit more. I mean, Callum Robinson saying there, yeah, I can see that. And I think this is, this might be a touchy one for Mike, but I think this is one to bring up. I mean, me personally, why does Hedges get away with it scot-free? I think Hedges sometimes brings a bit more to the team. I think he sometimes defensively does a bit more. But I think it's because I probably expect a bit more of Dolan, or I see ceiling being a bit higher. I don't know about you.
So for me, the difference between Hedges and Dolan, Hedges, I feel like his body lets him down, and Dolan, I think his brain lets him down. Is that really harsh? So like, I think a lot of Hedges. I think he's a quality player. I just feel like sometimes he's just worried about breaking, and I love Hedges. I think he's a great player, but I don't expect the same levels as Dolan. I think Dolan has the highest ceiling, like you've said.
Yeah.
And it's a very strange thing with Dolan because, like we've just said, it seems like he's playing for his next move a little bit. But every time I see him with the ball, it seems like the next person that touches it is an opposition player, be it a goal kick, throw in, or just flat out giving it away. So that's why I get the frustration. I mean, Michael's continued saying, lads, Hedges is not quality. Come on. This season, no. He hasn't played up to the levels that I expect out of him. That's probably. I mean, if you go across the podcast over the last few weeks, I don't think we've mentioned his name a hell of a lot. Whether he's turning into a bit of a cult hero in my eyes rather than actually being quality, I don't know. I don't think he's kicked on as much as what he should have done, but I still think there's a player there. But yeah, Dolan for me is just someone that if he just sorts it out, I think he can be a top player. And this game, he seemed to be a little bit petulant at times because obviously he's been playing kind of a little bit aggressive, a little bit angry maybe. And then he comes into this game where obviously he really wants to put one against Preston because of what happened earlier in his career. And he still seemed to play relatively aggressively. Do you feel like he's played a little bit, petulant, or is it just me?
I don't mind it sometimes when he looks a bit fired up, and I actually think, do you know what? I might bring more out of him. So I don't mind that so much. I don't think he's when I think of petulant, I think of people who are spending more times waving their arms. I think he does do that at times, though, with Gueye. There's times where, a couple of people have referenced it in the comments there, where they don't necessarily pass to each other. I think Dolan doesn't always trust Gueye, but I think actually that the more the last 3 or 4 games have gone on, his touch has got better. I think you've got to start giving him some respect, Gueye. And he's come to a new country, various reasons, and maybe it's a confidence thing with him. And now, actually, looking like a really good striker. Whether that continues, whether it's a run of form or whether it's a form or quality, we'll see. But right now, I'm loving the way he's playing, and I think right up until the last 10 minutes, I thought we were relatively comfortable. And then for me, Travis, 10 minutes before that, had socks had come down, started to look a bit leggy. But going 3 backwards, I understood the decision because it's worked before. But I thought we immediately looked like we didn't know who to pick up. We'd gone from 2 centre halves who knew exactly where they should be, who was picking up who. They were in sync with each other, to having a third man there. And all right, Preston changed things as well, but it just seemed to complicate it. And that can happen when you go 3 at the back. When you change system, you can go from being quite comfortable in terms of, right, he's coming on to you, passing him on, to all of a sudden, nobody quite takes the initiative. And I thought that happened a couple of times. And that never used to happen with Fabrizio because he will come on and take control. When you bring in somebody who's a little less experienced in Sanderson, that is a worry, I would say. So I think if that happens in future, then Bat's going to step up and has got to own that situation. But we got away with it. What was your view on the penalties?
Okay, so I was just about to bring that up with you because obviously I felt like we was in control of the game in that second half, and then we get the penalty. Yeah. I was shocked it was given. This is me now not talking as a Rovers fan. This is me just kind of looking at a game. I thought it's probably a penalty, but I think it's harsh because it was unlucky. It's akin to where you go for the ball, the striker just nips in there and you grab him and you just nick him, or you tread on his foot a little bit. It is a penalty. It's harsh. So I thought, yes, it was a penalty. It was just a bit harsh on the lads, but glad that obviously we scored it. And then let's talk about the Gueye one. Yeah, I think we got away with one there as well. I don't know. What do you think on them?
I'm trying not to be biased, but I heard the noise of Hyam's chin. It was a real crack. Now, I debated it on Friday with people. They were saying, well, yeah, but he's not even looked at him. Do you have to look at somebody necessarily for it to be a foul? You look at the one Rankin Costello away at Cardiff, wasn't it? Similar-ish. Honestly, Mike, the noise was sickening. I actually thought...
Oh, yeah, it was definitely... he's got him, yeah.
So there's an element within the rules, whether you like them or not, where you're engaging the safety of an opponent. You could even go down that route. So I think he had to give it. In terms of the Preston one, I don't see it. I really don't. I think Gueye's gone up for the ball. He's not even looking at Potts. The ball, might have hit down, but it's hit him up here. That's not handball anyway. And in terms of him colliding, no. Maybe I am being really biased.
So my view was both accidental, but both penalties. Yeah. And I think if you're giving one, you're probably giving the other. I think Buckley's Sky, and don't get me started on Sky's coverage because it's absolutely atrocious. They do no research. They couldn't even say the names of like Buckley. They're like, the number 20 something. It's like, yeah, it's John Buckley. Do your research. You paid a lot of money, but anyway. So John Buckley's run across the referee just as it's happened. So I think that's helped. But I think, if again taking the Rovers side away from it, I think the fact it's the home side, it's the last kick of coming towards the last kick of the game. I think the ref was like, it's a little bit 50-50. I haven't had a good view. I'm just not going to give it. I think if it's the other way around, I think if we're at Deepdale, I think that gets given. I personally think they both were penalties. It was just we got one and they didn't get the other, but I think we deserved the win overall. I think if Pairs would have saved it anyway. But talking about Pairs, I did scream when that goal went in. I was like, "What are you doing? This is your chance." Every goalkeeper wants an opportunity to be the hero. It's effectively a derby. It was all pretty. I think the atmosphere was pretty good. I think everyone was really getting involved, and to be in front of the Preston fans, to come out and make a big block save there and then turn and look at them would have been an amazing save for him to make. And he just bottled it. I think he just turned his body. He didn't want any piece of it. He didn't want to come, whether he didn't want to give a penalty away, whether he thought he was close to the post and it was going wide, I don't know. But it was an error from Pairs. And I think that I think he's going to be really disappointed with himself. And we got lucky with the fact that it didn't actually cost us the game. But it's another one where we're pointing at Pairs and we're saying, okay, there's just a couple of little things happening. It's not costing us the game. It's how you respond to it. And hopefully he's going to respond well. But it reminded me of Toth in the previous game, where against Coventry, where he's come out, he's made himself kind of big, but not really done anything. So I think it was one of those situations. But come the end of it, it was one of those where last season, typical Rovers would have drawn that, and we didn't. We won. And I think that's the amazing thing. I think that shows the team spirit the lads have got, that they can be absolutely out on their arse. They're struggling. They're tired. Like we say, they want bodies on the pitch. They want subs to come on and help out. They can't do it. But whereas last season we may have lost that game, we go and win 2-1. And I think that's the difference. And hopefully that's the Eustace effect. Because when that goal went in, I mean, what was the atmosphere around the ground? Was it like, oh, here it goes again?
It went from, I wouldn't say jubilant, but I think people were starting to just rub it in a little bit, to deathly silence and and obviously they had one disallowed as well, so it just started to feel surely we're not going to lose this. Let's just stay a bit quiet.
But this is what's making us believe a little bit more now, because this isn't the first time we've been in this situation this season, and we have felt like the team's built a little bit differently to last season. Last season, you do think we're going to lose this. This season, there's been a few times now, hasn't there, where you thought, is this going to be Rovers? And it hasn't. So maybe this is a new Rovers.
More often than not, they seem to come through things like this. I mean, it's just full credit to Eustace for me. He's installed this team spirit and belief and a fight and a belief in the way they play and a real togetherness that's just means that they're ultimately more than they individually are, doesn't it? But I just think that we are becoming a really, really horrible team to play against. And teams will start to look at us and think, we get a point at Ewood, then that's a good result. And it's how we respond to that again, because teams sitting in tend to be the ones we struggle against. Going away at QPR, moving on to that, I think QPR will, I think they'll open up. So I think that'll be an easier game for us. But I thought Preston were weaker than I've seen them in the past, but I thought we were better. So yeah, I thought we deserved it.
Yeah, I agree. And I thought there was some standout performers, be it that they played above what we expect from them or whatever. I thought Hyam had a good game. I thought Gueye had a good game. I thought Danny Bart had a good game. I thought we could have easily gone on to score one or two more. Yes, I was a little bit disappointed with a couple of things. And, okay, Hedges isn't playing to the level that I would want out of him, and Dolan does do frustrating things. But we were making chances, and as long as we keep making chances, there's going to be someone that's going to take them. And Gueye took his. Obviously, Cantwell gets his penalty. Who, in your eyes, who was like the kind of man of the match? Because I know that there's a few people commented about this. Who was your man of the match?
I would have gone for Gueye, and I think that's purely based on the fact that the level Callum Britton's been playing at this season, that was just another outstanding game from Callum Britton. Whereas Gueye's hold-up play, touch, I thought everything from Gueye was another level up from what I've seen. I think recently he's played really well, but I thought it was another level up with him. And it actually looked like a player that, do you know what? It is your number 9 shirt right now, no matter who was fit and who we brought in. He's now got to be dislodged for me. So I would have gone for Gueye on the basis of that. Not that I didn't think Callum Britton had a good game. I thought Callum was outstanding yet again.
Yeah, and we wonder why it's working. Like Scott, long-time contributor back on the Old Channel Rovers chat as well. Guye's family being here now must be a big boost for him. Things like that make a difference. They are,
of course, they do.
Are humans. I think the fact that he's getting the opportunity to probably play more games because Ohashi isn't here, so he's getting used to things. I think he's starting to find that little bit of space now to kick on. I just think that we wavered a little bit. We said at the start we saw glimpses of a player and someone that can really, crack on. And then I called him a Make-A-Wish Mac because he seemed like a player that had won a competition to be a professional footballer at times. But now we're actually starting to use him a little bit differently. Maybe that's what we needed to do. Maybe it is, we were doing horses for courses, but maybe we just needed to adapt it a little bit, adapt the course for him, and we did. And he's been that plan B that we talked about, and it was great to see. But moving on from the Preston game, but before we do, did you have any 3-word reactions that were your favourites?
We had quite a few, Mike. They were good. If anyone wants to stick on in the comments, if they can beat me finishing up. But yes, the ones that stood out for me were I had, and I'm trying to find it. Basically, there was 2. Trav is back, and Big Man.
Love it.
Yeah,
love it. I mean,
Big Ben.
Yeah, I mean, I had a look at the Twitter after, and there was a lot of Preston fans coming in having a right moan about how they should have had penalties and stuff. And I'll be honest, most of the ones I was reading about us biting back at them, saying it was your cup final, your big day out and stuff like that. But no, I think most people were saying the same as us, dominating. It was all about Travis and Gueye. And yeah, I think a lot of people were really chuffed. So we'll move on. There's a couple of comments come in, similar kind of things about how well we played. But the quick word reaction before we move on, Mark. Happy with the performance?
Yes.
Yeah, same here. Okay, so we move on to QPR, which obviously is tomorrow. It's away, midweek away, Rovers. It can be one of those dodgy ones, but we do seem to enjoy playing QPR. What's your thoughts on this one?
Double fold, really. Exactly like you've just said. We are playing away, and it's midweek, and it's a long trip. However, we did play Friday night. I think QPR set themselves up with that. I'm really conflicted about QPR's manager. I think he tactically is very knowledgeable. I think he adapts to the opposition and tries to pick out their threats. And I think he did that really well. Early days under Thomason, when we were scoring a lot, they came to Ewood, I think it was, and they pressed us really high. Nobody's really done it before from our goal kicks. They got a bit lucky, but they really did sort of pick holes in what we were doing. So it'd be interesting how they're set up because they're at home. And actually, I think our sort of, to use new world terminology, but our mid-block, basically, when they get to the halfway line, we start to close teams down. We keep our number 6s and our defence quite close together, and we shuttle across and deny the space. I think there's not a lot you can counter that for. They've got to try and get Ilias Chair in the game, haven't they? They're going to try and get those players sort of in and around it. But yeah, I just think we've enough about us to go to places like QPR and find out a result, whether that's a draw, whether we seek a victory. I fancy us. I do.
Yeah, I don't like making predictions. As we know, my predictions are absolutely atrocious and never. This is why I don't bet anymore. I'd have no house if I was betting because I'm terrible. But I do think that it's somewhere where the lads do go to. That I think they know that they can go to and get results out of. I mean, QPR beat us 2-1 at home, but other than that, it's been all us. So I think it's quite important that we go there and get something. I'm not too bothered about the Wolves game. I know I've said this time and again about the cup. I just don't think we've got the depth to deal with it. Now, if we get a few signings in between now and the end of the window, which is 2 hours away, 3 hours away. So it's not happening. I'd be quite up for it, but I just think that right now I'm really concentrating on the league. I think we've got a real good opportunity to crack on in the league. So for me, the QPR game is a big one. You don't go and beat Preston at home to then go and lose away, with a whimper at QPR. So I want us to go and I want us to get all 3 points. And I think it's more than manageable to do that. And hopefully we've got a relatively full pick to full squad to pick from. I know we've got the odd injury, but I think we've got a strong enough squad to go and beat them because we had the Friday. So that's an extra day for them to recover and train and prepare. Yeah. So, it does make a bit of a difference, doesn't it?
I completely think so. I mean, I just think we've enough in our locker, and I think the league's getting a little bit congested, isn't it? We know fourth to the top, and even between them, they're starting to run away from everybody a little bit. It's going to take something massive for anyone to catch Sunderland. But you look at teams like Coventry, we said have been underperforming. You look at Borough, who've gone and spent millions of pounds. We've got to go and be winning at teams like QPR, or we've got to average 2.7 really to get in the playoffs. So if you're going to get in the playoffs for me, you've lost 3 games, you've got to go and get 7 or 8 points from your next 3. That's the way it's got to work. And obviously, we're talking about QPR, but moving on to the Wolves game, I think the only thing with me, whilst I completely agree, Mike, I think I would have chucked the kids at Middlesbrough, it would have bothered me. I know our cup run, when we got to the quarters, was it against Sheffield United? I know it brought in about £2 or £3 million. And not that we necessarily spend it, but that is alone, isn't it, for somebody that they've obviously talked about Emmanual Dennis and players like that. That will pay all his wages on it when he's on loan. So, but I will be sticking players that need a game, and I will be getting Lewis Travis nowhere near the ground on Sunday. Whereas on Tuesday, I think Travis has to go again. Unless he's complaining that, his legs are screaming at him and there's a risk with his hamstring, he has to go again for me. I think the only one, obviously, that could be in and around it is Carbo, isn't it? I think he trained today. Siggy, 18-day week, forgotten man. Yeah, you're not wrong, Trendify. Siggy's obviously, I think he said he's 2 or 3 weeks away. Ash is 2 or 3 weeks away. Arthur, I think, is about a week away. So they're coming back, but they're coming back slowly. And it's going to take time. I am worried about the potential injury to Harry Leonard, though, who's supposed to hurt his back again. That's been 2 or 3 times he's done that in his career now, and it's quite common, really, for young players to get those sorts of injuries, and they can be very difficult to shake off. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's not good for the lad. I mean, I've had my back issues, as a lot of people have, and when you start to get them, it does take a lot to recover. Siggy been 2 to 3 weeks away since he signed. That's true. The Siggy one's just so frustrating. I was so excited when we signed him because he seems to have a little bit of credibility, and to have a player that played in the Champions League, young, playing for a good. I mean, Iceland's a good country. I mean, it's not like it used to be. They're a good country to play for. He'd been at the Bernabeu, and now all he's doing is taking selfies in lifts and with his top knot and stuff. And it's like, geez, looking at he's enjoying it, but. Yeah, so Jazz asked, favourite Loftus Road memory, minus 2 guys' assists for Andy Cole in the 4-3 win over Fulham in 2004. Yeah, I think that's going to be the one that people remember the most. I enjoyed the 4-0 that we had because Siggy scoring that one as well. My boy Siggy. We got 2.
Last season, he did. Yeah, I mean, we've had some bloody good memories now. We've obviously had Andy Cole one in more recent history. You've got that Siggy goal. You've got, I can't forget JRC's little scoop around that he did when he, and then he went for an assist. There was the one where Travis played that ball. No one knew Travis could ever even see, let alone do. And then he ran away going, Kevin De Bruyne. But I go back. I'm sorry. It's, I think Amoruso scored from about 100 yards out against them. I think it might have been the same game as the Andy Cole one. But then there was Johnny Stead. Suke, didn't he get a hat-trick there at one stage as well, or 2 goals? It's a happy hunting ground. I think some of them are getting mixed up now. Some of them are against Fulham, aren't they? Oh, well, there's Jazz's against Fulham as well. But they're all at Loftus Road. But yeah, happy memories, and hopefully we'll get a few more tomorrow night. Who knows? Maybe we'll have a Dolan hat-trick.
Well, if I've moaned about him today, he's going to mug me off tomorrow, and then people are going to be commenting, tagging me in stuff, saying I know nothing about football. And to be honest, I don't. And I hope that I am proved wrong, because if I ever say anything negative about any Rovers player, I want to be proved wrong. And if I say anything good, I want to be proved right. So, Dolan, I want you to be scoring a hat-trick. And if you want to stick a middle finger up at me, that is absolutely fine. So, just finishing off on the Wolves game, Mark. What's your minimum requirement for this one? So for me, it's to have rotation, Toth back in goal, for example. Like you say, keeping the Travises, maybe the Hyams and the Barts away if we can. Maybe giving a new signing a little bit of a run out, things like that. And just not to embarrass ourselves in some absolute mauling. If we come away with a 2-1 loss or something like that, I can just accept it and move on, because for me, it's all about keeping up in the league. What's your minimum expectation?
Exactly the same. I like us to be competitive in the game, and I think if we hadn't been as precarious as we are squad-wise, and I would have liked seeing us give it a go and have a test against them, because they're struggling in the Premier League. It'd be a good barometer. I think it'd be interesting what you think about Toth now. He's played a couple of games. Does he still have to have those experienced centre-halves? For me, I'd like to see Callum Britton rested. I'd like to see Sanderson play, give Forshaw a game, get Travis nowhere near the ground. If Carter's back, maybe he gets half an hour, maybe he can do 45. I think it's a game for that kind of thing. And anybody you feel you might need from now till the end of the season, let's have a look at them. If you think Rankin Costello might be an option on the left-hand side of the front three, give it a go. This is the game for me to do that. Just on the comments before we go. James didn't cheer a score against QPR, smashing the bar from 25 yards out. He did. He scored a hat-trick. He gave Corready nightmares, but that was at Ewood, I think, wasn't it? But we'll still take it. I'll still... Any opportunity to talk about it. But yeah, Mike, what about the centre-halves and stuff then? Do they need to play the experienced ones with him now, or can they get away with playing Sanderson?
I think they've seen enough from Toth now with the in those two games with the centre halves to show that he works well with them. Because obviously Pears was ill, so he had the cup game against Middlesbrough, and then obviously he was ill against Coventry, and he played with them, and they all seemed really happy passing it back to him, dealing with it. His communication was good. So I think from that point of view, I think it's a very small sample size, but it's a sample size that the management and the coaches will be happy with. I think if you go into those games and they're all a little bit jittery with him, I mean, at the end of the day, they all train together every single day, so that they've seen him, they know what he can do. So it's obvious that they see a goalkeeper, because when Volstead came in, no one trusted him with this kind of thing. No. Whereas they have done with Toth. So you can see there. So I think that they can throw Toth in with anyone in front of him. There is actually a quick comment about Zach Gilson. How's his injuries doing? When's he back? Have we heard anything on that one? Because, I mean, this is the kind of game we would have loved to have seen a player like that.
Yeah, I was at the training ground early January, and he was on the grass, but he was training on his own. At that point, Jake Garrett had just come back and he was doing the medical test. He wasn't even doing that. He wasn't with the 21. He was just starting to get on the grass on his own programme. So the totals then is still quite a way off. And they're very concerned the fact that he broke down in the summer. So they want to make sure he's right this time. So what they're basically doing is prioritising the play over the club. And in the nicest possible way, it's not like a Travis situation where this is playoff dependent, is it? So it's important we have a long-term view with him. And I think even if that means he doesn't play a game from now to the end of the season, they will take it really is a safety-first approach, really.
Yeah, and we've got to, because I mean, I've called out the strength and conditioning coaches for about 2-3 years now. So don't make me call the medical staff out as well. Because, you know, when you've got talented players like this, you've got to be careful. You know, they're growing lads as well. I mean, you know, puberty doesn't finish until their early 20s sometimes. And if they're still growing and developing and we're rushing it, then it can cause real issues. I mean, Messi had the same, didn't he? I mean, I don't really want to put Gilson and Messi in the same conversation, but you know, when you have these young players, they need to be dealt with on an individual basis. So I'm glad we're not rushing that back, the players back. But he's obviously a talented player, and I hope that it works out and we do get him back soon. We have got one prediction for Wolves saying from Callum Robinson saying we're going to smash them 5-0 and the Hedges goal for Mike. And it's like, only the one goal, mate. He's going to score all 5. He's magnificent. His Hedges. So that's if he lasts the game, which is quite rare. So moving on. So that's the game sorted. Next week we're going to be have another 3 points. We're going to be through to the next round in the cup. What players are we going to have through the door? This is why we're all here. This is why people are watching. Let's have a quick discussion. So the first one we will talk about is Augustus Gagpo. Is that how I need to pronounce his name? Gagpo?
I think it's been nailed on. Obviously, he's got a song already. Have you seen this, Mike?
No, go on.
Okay. Well, basically, Mike, we'll just go for it. He goes, Augustus Gagpo running down the way. Gagpo makes the Rovers sing. Gagpo taking us to the Premier League. Therefore, great song. Has to be a world beater. Sold. Looks like a young-ish, tricky, tiny. I mean, hold on, am I describing Dolan here? I think he's quicker I think he's more of a cadre type player in terms of pace, which is what we've been crying out for. Looks very direct. I think he's going to play off either wing, probably the right. It looks a bit more like, but we're going to see him, aren't we? In probably tomorrow night, we'll probably see a little bit of him. When we signed him initially, I'll be honest, I thought, okay, nice. Get him in January, ready for next season, and then bedded in. And all the talk, when obviously we talked to Gueye and things like that, has been around January window. We want players that are going to impact the first team. They need to be ready to go. They need to play leagues that are similar standards to the Championship or Premier League. So when he's coming from Italy, that doesn't really fit that. So when is somebody that I certainly don't think he's somebody that we are to expect will come in and make an immediate impact. We'll be looking more next season. However, he's got some pace, and it will be a massive bonus if he does make an immediate impact, won't it? Yeah.
I mean, some of our signings have actually hit the ground running quite quick recently, and we need him to. I mean, he's been playing enough games. You know, it's not like he's not played anything. He has been playing games. It's not like Ohashi where he's come off a full season, which is good. So he should be at a good level. Second tier Italian football isn't necessarily the best. I mean, it's got some good teams in it, but it's I don't think it's got the same kind of aggressive nature as, say, like Bundesliga 2 or even Championship. So I think he's going to have a little bit of adapting. But if he comes and he gives energy and he gives creativity, because a lot of people have said that he's just an out and out striker, but he plays just on the wing now and again. Is he coming? I mean, is he coming just to play striker? I don't think so. I think he's come to be a little bit more of a utility man, play out on the wings. And like you say, he's got some pace. He's not the biggest, so you don't really want him up front for us because of the way we play. So, yeah, it's going to be really interesting. He's a permanent signing. It wasn't a lot of money. It's around the £1 million mark. Or is it less than that?
Around that, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah. So for us, £1 million an unreal amount of money at the moment, which is sad to say. Yeah, like I said, the research I did, there was people saying that it looks like a decent signing, but only time will tell. Yeah, it's really hard to talk about a player that we don't really know much about. But we have signed another one today, Yuri Ribeiro. So
of course,
left back. 28 years old, so he's not the youngest. He's obviously coming into cover, isn't he? It is a permanent signing, I think you told me, but it's only on a 6-month deal.
Yeah, permanent to the end of the season, which is a bit of a strange one, but it is what it is. I mean, he's played over 50 games in the Championship for Forest. My initial thoughts were, right, well, that obviously means Pickering's probably not back till April, as it said, so he's just going for cover. The more I think about it, the more I think actually it does give us the option then of moving Owen back further forward, which we've talked about. That's been a big loss because I think he really does give us something further forward, particularly when you're playing the better teams in the Championship. I think, and away from home, it gives us a really good option to do that. And I think back to that Leeds game. I think back to there was another game around that period of time where I thought it was outstanding on the left-hand side. A lot of that's to do with the way Pickering was playing as well. But if he can come in and be a good option at left back, I think that the fact it gives us that option to play back further forward as well is a double fold in this signing. So I've gone from it being a cover for left back, is what it is, to actually I hope is a decent option, because then that opens up the back on the left wing option. I think in terms of cardboard, what I will say is I have happy memories of us signing players from Serie B. I seem to remember us signing a certain Chicho Grabby, and he was an unreal success. Came from Serie B. Oh, there we go, Trendify. Grabby, what more do we need? Sold.
Exactly. I remember when we signed Grabby, and I watched him for a couple of games, and it was like we wanted a striker, but we signed an attacking midfielder. Like if we just changed his position and adapted him, he would have been actually a really good signing for us. But it was a lot of money at the time, and we were desperate for him to get these goals, and they weren't coming. But you could just tell he had this, like maybe number 10 or even deeper than that kind of thought process when he was on the ball.
Yeah, I mean, if that one had counted against United, it could have been different. I think Italian football was way different to English football then, wasn't it? You know, we were very much 4-4-2 in England. We had Duff on one wing, Gillespie on the other. We couldn't find a place for Dolan Souness's team half of the time because he would only play in centre midfield and he didn't do enough for it up and down. And Grabby really looked like one who would play on the left, almost where Citizen kind of should play. And I think if English football had moved on, maybe it would have been better for him. But yeah.
Yeah. I got him on the back of the navy blue Kappa away top.
Nice. Yeah.
To me, that was the most beautiful away top we've ever had, and I had Grabby on the back. And then when and I got him to sign it as well. I've got it in the loft somewhere. I need to get it down. And I was so chuffed with this shirt. I was really, he's going to be big, this lad. And yeah, it didn't. It didn't work out. But now going back to the Ribeiro one. Ross Gibson said, I heard Beck is struggling with an injury and that's why they signed Ribeiro. I think it's a little bit of everything. I think it's a case of obviously Pickering's got to come back and then get back up to speed. I think Beck's now because of the way that we play very up and down, I completely agree with what you're saying, Mark, that he's someone that can be very aggressive getting forward, but when you're asking him to do that and get back, it's a lot. I think there's a lot going into this. I think it's depth, and I think it's ultimately a player that's just going to add it's just a different dynamic. I mean, it sounds like he just likes to play left back. He doesn't necessarily wander forward, so that's quite a good one. Okay, so before we move on to the rumours, let's just talk about the other signings we've made this season and what you think so far. So, first one, Dion Sanderson. What have you made of him so far?
Steady cover.
Yeah, just cover. I've spoken to a lot of Blues fans, and they're all saying, "Oh no, when he gets used to it, it'll be a quality signing for you." And I can see there's something there. I just think he's a relatively straightforward player for us at the moment. He just comes in, he does the job, and he seems a little bit cumbersome at times. But I think there's a place for that.
Yeah, I think he will. I think he'd benefit from a run of games. It's just whether he'll get that. I think he almost looks. He's not played much, has it? And I think there's an element of that, but there's also an element of potentially trying a little bit too hard or worried about making a mistake, and that's a bit of a danger. So I think I don't want this to happen, but if somebody got injured and he was like, right, you are playing for the next 5 games, we might see him settle down a little bit. But yeah. I mean, I think he was at Wolves, wasn't he, before Birmingham? So playing him on a weekend would be nice. Let him play against his old club. I'm happy with cover.
And it's the same with Adam Forshaw. If we talk about Adam Forshaw, it's someone that's come in for cover. These kind of signings, they remind me of when you're on Football Manager. You're coming to the end of the window and you're just like, right, I need some bodies in. And you just go to search caps, search age, and just literally just try and sign the ones that you can just to bring in players that you've kind of heard of. And that's the kind of players I feel like we're doing at the moment with the Forshaws. It was like, right, who's available? Who can come in right now and replace Baker? And be a body, and he's been okay. Like I've not looked at him and thought he looks out of place. I think he's fitting quite well. I think he looks like a good professional. What's your thoughts on him?
I think you're spot on, Mike. I think we needed somebody in then because of the immediacy of it. He's got experience of getting promotion. He's got experience of the Championship. It suits him personal life-wise, doesn't it? He did the interview and said his family's from up here. He'll be a good pro. So having that around the place doesn't do you any harm either. And you've got to remember we've lost McFadden, and we must just mention Cam McFadden's seems like he's got a really serious injury after he's played one game at Chesterfield he's gone to. Feel awful for him, but we've lost Cam McFadden, and we know how much everyone talked about the importance of his experience. So adding somebody of 4 shows experience who's been at Leeds, he's been at Borough, he's been there and done it, they've got promoted, doesn't do any harm, even if he's not outstanding on the pitch. He's 4th choice in that midfield. I'm okay with it. But relatively low cost as well. Fine.
Yeah, I've been happy enough. I think it's a body. It's what we needed through the door. But now we talk about who we're being linked to. There's only a couple of hours left now of the window. And there's 2 names that we're being linked to, which I find quite strange. So we've got Corley Woodrow and Emmanuel Dennis. It is Dennis. It's not Denise or anything, is it? And I've made myself look stupid.
I think it's Dennis. It is now. Anyway.
I've pronounced Woodrow right, haven't I? I'm not stupid on that one.
Yeah.
So we go and sign Gago, who's winger striker. We've got Ohashi. We've got Gueye. Now we're looking to get in 2 more strikers because obviously Leonard's going to be out for a while, and I think they probably want to shelve him for the rest of the season, I'm guessing, from a first team point of view. So can you see them both coming in, Woodrow and Dennis?
Yeah. Cam, I know that they were looking for an experienced Championship housery type striker. Somebody that they, a bit like Gaye has been recently, somebody that could just hold the ball up, cause a bit of a nuisance, a bit like a plan B. The only thing with that is Gaye has then recently done that. So that's the only issue, I suppose, with it. Emmanuel Dennis is, remembering, when he was at Watford and he went to Forest, he's a bit more small, a bit diminutive. Remembered me quite sharp with his touch and with his feet, but playing more off the left rather than that number 9. So I think what we've got to remember here is we've asked for some experience and we've asked for experience of the league, and then we're getting that in both of them if they both come in. But Emmanuel Dennis hasn't played, as far as I can tell, since last season. And Coley Woodrow obviously isn't prolific, but I don't think we're bringing him in to be prolific. I'm not going to mention that lot down the road, but they've made a similar signing. And I think we just want somebody. We want a bit of a figure like a Carlton Morris, but you're not going to get that without paying silly money, really. And we nicked his mate instead. I think that's the plan. Somebody who, he's been a captain there as well. He's got experience of promotion. He's got experience of the Premier League. Both of them have got this. So we're adding people now, in Forshire as well, who've got experience of getting out of the league. People who've got experience of playing in the Premier League. People who, it just raises the bar a little bit. And Emmanuel Dennis has got that X factor on his day. The problem you've got is he's not going to be up to speed. So that's a little bit surprising. Alan Myers is saying that Woodrow having his medical. Fabrizio Romano, another credible source, said that we're doing the same with Dennis. I would say I'll believe it when I see them both holding a shirt, but I think we both remember seeing somebody holding a shirt and believing it.
Yeah,
so
I don't trust. I don't trust it until they're actually on the pitch and they're playing football.
That's where I'm at now with it. Here we go. Here he is. Rovers, we might be the YouTube stars of the Rovers fans, Mike, but Ollie Collins here, Jolly Ollie, as he's known, is the TikTok star of Rovers, other than Little Dylan. Jolly Ollie is currently gassed about the Dennis incoming. I mean, yeah. this is one thing that is being raised, though, and it's Jack's talking about the moment. We're currently at 24 squad members, so if we bring these two in, we'll be at 26. So that would suggest we're not bringing picks like this. So basically, we've got to drop somebody from our squad registration, which is interesting. If we bring them both in, somebody is going to get dropped from our registration. So it could be Pickering, but that means even if you got to the playoffs, you can't bring these players back in. Is that going to be on Sigurdsson? And like he suggests, we terminate his contract? Possible.
Well, my main concern is, do the club know about this? Because we make these kind of mistakes all the time when it comes to registration. So, Mark, if you can do us a favour, because we're doing the podcast at the moment, can you just call the club and can you just remind them that there are registration rules? So then we can all move on. But going back to the players called Woodrow and Dennis, I mean, I've just brought up some of their stats. Now, this is all competition, so this is reserve football as well. So Woodrow's got 95 goals in 384 games, and Dennis has 52 goals in 240. So it's like you say, it's not like we're going to be signing loads and getting loads of goals out of these players, but we are a sum of all parts team, and we do seem to be trying to buy players that just fit into our ethos. And as long as the players that come in work hard, they're not dickheads, and they all just understand that it's building a team, not collecting talent. I think that's the main thing for me, and that's what I want to see from these players. We've had loan players come in before. We've not really expected anything from them, and they've come in and done a job. But like Sori's saying here, when it comes to the registration, Scott Wharton will be unregistered apparently. There's probably others that might be. I don't think we're going to. I'll be. I don't know why. I'll just be surprised if we get both of these. I really will. I think it has a feeling to me that they're trying to see how far both go, but they really want Dennis over Woodrow. And if Dennis falls through, Woodrow's there. Is that? I mean, I know that's harsh, and I don't want us playing games, but I've just got this feeling that it's something like that.
I know we wanted an experienced Championship striker from the beginning, so Woodrow would fit that. Whether he's prolific or not, he would fit that. And if you think we brought in Cardbar, we brought in potentially Dennis, neither of them can play under number 9 in where we play, I would suggest. I could see them both. I could. And then we've got some real good competition. What we have got there as well, like I touched on, is some experience, though. We've got experience of people that know how to get into the playoffs, know how to get out the playoffs. We've not had that before. We have been bemoaning this a lot. And actually, what a real lift that gives the team if you all of a sudden go into training, you've got people who have been there, seen it, and done it. You know, you've gone up and you've got Colwood. All right, not loads, but he's playing in the Premier League last year. He's been at Luton when they're in a poor season, but they've done well previously. And then you've got Emmanuel Dennis, who, I mean, what did he go for? Reported 20 million at one stage. So I've got to I'll be honest, I'm just getting a little bit distracted. Everyone's getting very excited about Sunderland have beaten, but I don't think they quite know we're only in February. But I will take it. We'll take it.
Well, I'm just scrolling around social media now to see if we're being linked to anyone else. You know, apparently Sunderland are obviously getting Dan's and so on. So it looks like I'll be surprised. I mean, because of the registration rules, because of how everything's going at the moment, I can't see us having any kind of shock signing, you know, between now and the morning. I think it is going to be Woodrow, Dennis, or both. We haven't had. I mean, we've been linked to some names, haven't we? But we haven't. You know, done anything with that, have we? It seems to be all coming down to this Dennis as being near enough done, and Woodrow.
I think from what we hear, that they were really trying to get Jed and Dan's, and they were really hoping that would go over the line. I wonder if Dennis is a second choice from that. We talked the other day, didn't we, about how transfers happen, how they fall at the last minute, how an agent rings up and says somebody's available. I was talking.
You don't have to register under 21s, do you? Or is it under 23s? Remind me.
Under 21s, I believe. But I under 21 at the beginning of the season, so the 22 you can kind of go over it. But the link to Lewis O'Brien, I remember seeing Lewis O'Brien, and he was one of the best midfielders I've seen in the Championship when he was at Huddersfield. Then he's had a couple of dodgy loans. Obviously, he had the saga with us. But that kind of signing will be one where you go, well, hold on a minute. Tronstad's back in a couple of weeks. As much as I want competition, he's going to want to play. We're then going to start shoehorning people in. Whereas I think you could find, you could see a way that Drew plays up front, Dennis off the right, Cogbo off the left, or the other way around, or one of them comes off the bench. I mean, that's the other thing, Mike. We're looking at the bench the other day, and there was 2 or 3 kids on there, weren't there? Now you're potentially looking at the bench, and all of a sudden you've got, all right, not tomorrow, but you've got a case where you've got Lyman, Cogbo, Sigurdsson, Woodrow. You've got options all of a sudden on the bench, and I mean, we're giving playoffs a decent run, aren't we? What we're not doing, let's be honest, we went into this transfer window and needed a striker and a winger. That was the minimum. And Sheffield United have needed this game, and they've gone and signed Tom Cannon and Diaz. We're not doing that, but they've thrown millions at it, and they're probably now going to go up on automatics. Certain team down the road have just got to spend another 12 million. Will they do? I don't know. I think they may well find themselves in the playoffs. Middlesbrough spent a fortune. Hull have got to spend a fortune again. Even if we'd have gone and spent 10 million, if we'd have gone and signed Tom Cannon, would that have guaranteed as a playoff player? I'm not so sure it would. So I want us to be prioritising our long-term health of our club, but I also wanted to see us have a go with it. And I think if we put in Dennis and Woodrow, as much as people looking at Woodrow's goal record, that's not what he's necessarily about. He's about bringing others into play and the experience of, we talked about when we're holding that ball in the corner, winning the free kicks late on in games, all that kind of thing. I think we've given that a decent go for bringing them in.
And can you see us bringing in any young? Is that aimed at me?
No, it's not aimed at you. I wanted to just clarify that, Mike. That is my friend, my very, very good lifelong friend, Liam. He's watching from Canada. I don't know what time of Canada right now. My maths was never good, but that is actually my nickname, Mike, from school. So yes.
Oh, I thought it was my new nickname of being called Egg, because Mr. Boyce thinks my hair looks stunning today, and I'll be honest, mate, I know yours does too. But yeah, Egg. Oh, I can't accept that one. But yeah, well, I'm going to start calling you Egg now, Mark. So we can potentially sign some under 20 on loan, under 21s on loan if they were under 20 at the start, as well as Dennis and Woodrow. That has potential, and they can still be registered, can't they? If I'm right. So you're getting abuse from Liam here. We're going to have to stop that one. You two need to just have a bit of a private message with each other on this one.
Just bin that one off. Yeah.
So it's begging the question. So Oliver Collins is asking another question. If these signings come in, considering finances, how successful would this window have been? So let's assume we are getting Dennis and Woodrow, both on loan. And let's assume we get a random 20-year-old in that covers defence, something like that. I'm going to say that I'm 50-50. And the reason why I'm on the fence with it is, one, I'm disappointed that it's all loans and free transfers except for Gago. Like, I know finances are tight, but we could have spent some money, and I think that's the thing that's disappointed me. I wanted to really get excited over a signing, maybe two. And whilst we're here talking about loans, we're talking about players that we've never heard of from different leagues. I really wanted this winter to have something exciting to talk about. I wanted it to be a player that was spending 4 or 5 million on. We was talking about that Nantes striker meant to be around the £4 million mark today. That is he Mo Salah's strike partner at Egypt or something?
Yeah.
We're being linked to players like that, and they're the players I wanted to get excited about. And we're still talking now about loan signings. Dion Sanderson is on loan from Blues. So we've loaned in a League One player. We've had Forshaw come in that, we can't even get a game where he was, at Plymouth. Gago, we'd never heard of him. Ribeiro, he could do a good job, but still it's a free transfer just for 6 months. Woodrow and Dennis, not main goal scorers, coming in on loan. I think that's the thing. For me, I wanted a little bit more excitement rather than just bodies coming in. I wanted bodies in, but I wanted some excitement as well. Do you get what I mean?
Completely get what you mean. I think there is a danger that if we'd have gone and spent 4 million, say, on Mustafa Mohammed, was it? Is he going to hit the ground running? Is he not? Are we better signing the players we've got now? I think that playing devil's advocate here, I would have loved to have seen us go and spend. We talked about it last time, didn't we? If there was Jordan Rhodes out there, and by all accounts, Richard Corney at Wickham, we didn't, but I think it was Luton had a £6 million bid rejected, and everybody says he's going to be a world beater. We don't know that we haven't sniffed around players and that actually that they just got too rich for us. And we thought, do you know what? It's not a gamble worth taking. Everybody, you go right up to the Premier League, look at Arsenal. Everybody talks about January window, people being priced out and people being, there's no value in it. And it's difficult to get the things back that you want. I would have liked to have seen it. I think we've made some sensible signings if both of them come in. I think we've made some shrewd signings potentially. I'm worried that they've not played many games. But again, it comes back down to actions speak louder than words. And I want to then see that money spent in the summer window. But it feels like we say this all the time. I do think we have added some quality. And I think we are going... If we sign those two, I think right now, I would say... I wake up tomorrow morning, I think I would turn around and say, you know what? I think we're better than we went into the window. And we were like that in the summer. You continue on that trajectory, and I'm okay with it. The previous ones before that, I think, become weaker or certainly no better every single one of the last, not the summer one, but before that, the previous 4 windows. And that's not a trajectory I wanted to see our club on. If you then go into the summer and you sign Poku from Peterborough, and he pays compensation if there is any and whatever because his contract's up, and you go and sign somebody like a Corney and you can get him for 5 million, yeah, I'm okay with it. But we've got to show some ambition at some point, haven't we? Because ultimately, these players go back and you are left with the squad that you see much. Forshaw will probably not be renewed. Sanderson, you might sign, you might not. Then we've only brought cardboard in, haven't we? As Ribeiro's.
I think that's exactly what it is. What you just said there. I just wanted to see some intent. Now I know that we've got this Indian government thing going on. We've talked about it to death. We know that we can't easily get money coming in, but it just has a feeling of plasters on the wounds all the time. It's not that we're trying to fix ourselves. Everything's always short term. Like, how can we get through the next period of football? So the next period of football is obviously between now and the end of the season. Then it's like, okay, now how can we get to January? Then how can we get back to the summer after? It's not right. Let's sign some players that we know are going to make us better for the next 3 or 4 years. Let's bring them in, give them the contracts for 3 or 4 years and actually build a team. as you know, I watch the NFL, and the way that they do things is normally through the draft, where all these kids come through. They're on small contracts, and you can build a squad, and you collect all this talent, and then you build a team as you go along. And I just want to see us kind of look at that. We can't just keep relying on our own youth system. We do need to go and find some players. I just want to see some intent from the owners of putting some money in. We have a lot of money that has come in from player sales, like we said last week, and I know that we can't go and spend 30 million because that's not how they're structured, but we can go and spend 3 or 4 million. And whilst I don't want us to waste the money, there's got to be an element of risk. You've got to take the risk. They've got to be players on their list that they're looking at and thinking, do you know what? It's a little bit risky, but I think we can take that. Our risk taking is very, very low at the moment from a financial point of view. We're willing to go and buy these players we've never heard of for next to nothing because the risk is relatively low from a financial point, and you can just dump them off. I want to see us actually show some intent. Get some players in that are going to be with us for the next 3 or 4 years, and we know that. And stop just trying to, fix us every single time. And that's what I wanted. So to go back to the question, is it been a successful window? Yes, but there's a caveat to that.
Yeah, I think if cardboard is a sign of things to come, and I'm not necessarily even talking about the quality of him right now because we don't know. But if he's coming in and actually what we're doing is we're bringing them in now, and we've talked about this when Brentford did it, bring them in now with a view to them being ready to start 6 months after. And if they can do it earlier, great, then I am all for it. But I think you're right. I think the calculated gambles of the people like Porku at Peterborough that we've seen, the trickiness, we've seen him do it consistently over a period of time. And then Corney, I would like to see us have a real go at him. If you're going to go and spend £6 million on somebody, maybe somebody in League One that's absolutely tearing it up and looks like he's got everything in his locker. They're the kind of gambles that we kind of probably need to make. But whether we will do again, I don't know. I mean, we did it with Diaz and it took long enough to pay off. And ultimately, we ended up with nothing out of it. But it was our own doing.
That came down from poor business decisions more than anything else, rather than...
It did. But my biggest concern right now is the number of players that we've got either out of contract this summer with an option or that are out of contract in 18 months' time, and we don't seem like we're focusing on renewing them. That's not a great strategy. You can't keep trying to sort that all the time, can you? It's got to be done early enough. And I worry about that because I think we've got into a really good habit of tying them up and having something to build from and retaining value and being in a strong bargaining position if you want to extend contracts, to all of a sudden now you look at Haim and you think, well, we can't extend his contract, but if somebody comes in, you're struggling a bit here. Whether they've got a bit shy with that because of the likes of Buckley getting a 4 or 5 year deal, and then can they shift him if they want to? I don't know. But I'd like to see them tying people like Don Haim down. Britain should have a new contract.
I think there's definitely going to be a plan there. Yeah, I think there's definitely going to be a plan there, and I know that you've got your ear close to the ground with a few things. I mean, before I carry on with that, we've only got about 10 minutes left on the pod. So if anyone's got any questions, just pop them in the comments, and we'll hopefully answer them. I just want us to finish on this one on a positive. But for me now to talk about the contracts, I think there's an element of they don't know who to trust from a playing point of view as well. I think that the club don't want to spend too much money on wages. So Dolan's obviously asking for too much because if he wasn't, I think he would have been offered it and he would have been signed. I think Haim's an important one to sign up. But yeah, I agree with you. I think they're going to get the transfers done, and I think we'll see some contracts signed over the next month, maybe. Ross has just said, is it bad that I don't really want to go to bed until I know these 2 players have signed, starting to get withdrawal symptoms from previous January transfer windows? Yeah, I know exactly where you're coming from, but then again, I stayed up. I did so much research on that Duncan Maguire. I think I've still got the document of all the research I did. I did a video and everything.
Yeah.
And then when it was signed, I was like, right, we're going to put it out there. And then we realised it hadn't, and I had to delete it. Devastated.
I'm sorry, Mike. You should have put it out. You should have put it out.
I spent hours. I went through loads of scouting documents and everything, because the way the MLS works is they've got like scouting documents for near enough every player. It was really, and I was going through. There was graphs and everything. I was lapping it all up. Made a nice, video to go out, and then he didn't sign, so it was just delete. So, Mark, do you think we're going to get these two signed tonight?
Do you know what? I know what Ross is saying, but it's so bloody annoying, because deadline 11 o'clock. That should be it. If they're not on your website, you've not announced them. No, we've got history with this, but you still don't know, do you? So you end up saying like 11:30. Well, just keep waiting a bit longer, and then you wake up in the morning, and sometimes it's still not finalised. I'm waiting for my 5-minute warning X announcement from Rovers, and a picture of Dennis the Menace, and it's roundly turned, and there's Emmanual, and then colour will draw, whatever they want to do. Is the fax machine turned on, says Yorkie? Well, fortunately, there isn't a fax machine involved anymore. That's the good news, Yorkie. The bad news is we do have to press submit.
Well, yes, and we have had a player leave. Joe Hilton's left. Apparently, a very funny guy around the changing rooms. Yeah. Very well liked. Yeah. Young, big goalkeeper. Didn't quite work out for him here. We do wish him all the best. Apparently, proper good guy. But yeah, it gets to a point in every player's career he needs to move on, and he's moved on. I don't think any more is going to move on. We're not going to see anyone move on, are we?
I don't think so. He's 25 now, isn't he? Fair play to him for going and getting a club. I don't think there'll be anyone out the door. And I think Leonard probably would have done it if we got them in early enough. He was fit. Bradley Sturton, a little diversion from deadline day. What's the main focus for the next fans forum? Hopefully there's a discussion regarding lack of communication from Rudy and the club and the 150-year plans. So we're actually setting the agenda now, the forum in a couple of weeks. The 150-year plans will briefly be on there, but we've talked about them a lot, and there is a separate working party if anyone's got any things they want to sort of come about for that, any real plans. I think they're planning 4 events. There'll be a commemorative kit and all that kind of things ongoing. We have the 26, 27 kits, would you believe it, is on the agenda because they work that far in advance. So we're talking about that. We talked about season tickets previously, but we'll ask for an update on when they'll be going on sale. We'll talk about match day ticket experience. So plenty of feedback from the Wolves game being online only. The online system has changed slightly, so you can now buy a ticket online and upgrade it. So if you've got a kid's season ticket, you can upgrade it. What you still can't do is if I've got a season ticket in the Jack Walker lower and my daughter's not going to the night game and I want to move it to the Blackburn End, I can't do that. You can't buy a kid's ticket because of safeguarding reasons on their own. I understand that. But if you're an adult season ticket and you're older and you want to buy one next to you, or can you move them together, we will be discussing that. They are trying to work through that. So all those kind of things are on. We've got a junior fans forum as well, which we talked about, Mike, and they actually had the chicken nuggets the other day they'd asked for, so they were all there. I know these seem like trivial things for everybody, but they are part of the wider thing that we talk about the experience. In terms of the lack of communication, the club have a policy that they will not comment on speculation really, and they don't like to comment during the transfer window because things change so quickly. So they only want to comment when things are complete. The forum mainly will be around business and commercial. So we'll probably have Yasser Soufian come in and probably Sahel. So if Rudy doesn't come, not because he doesn't want, but because we're not mainly talking about those things, then it just depends where they fall in the timeline of things. Then we could save those questions for another day. But yeah, I think questions will be asked around the spending funds. We'll probably ask about the Indian court case just for an update, because it feels like that is asked every single time. And the answer will probably be the same, but it's not affecting day-to-day running. But yeah, if there's anything anyone specifically wants asking, it can go in any other business. I mean, I get some stick, me personally, on the forum for that, because somebody will ask a question and say, I think they changed from Strongball to inches, and somebody said, bring it up. This is an outrage. Nobody's buying it and it's a disgrace. Well, bring it up then in any other business for about 30 seconds and just give them some feedback. But then it comes in the minutes, and he'll say, somebody mentioned this, and everyone's like, well, why are you not discussing the fact that Yankees have bits of court or whatever? You know, obviously, as you can imagine, the length of discussion on it is slightly shorter than what we will probably discuss about the transfer window, things like that. But yeah, if anyone has any input they would like in terms of the kits, obviously they've got the commemorative kits coming up. That's already been decided. But 26, 27, if you've got a favourite kit you'd like to see, if there's anything you would be happy with or not happy with in terms of the home kit. So, for example, we have been quite consistent that we don't think that the centre line on the shirt should ever be messed with. So you see some teams doing it with like a red line down the middle. Personally, I've always felt no, and the forum have been quite consistent on that. The survey went out, and I think that was quite unanimous. There was talk once of it, the blue fading right out. I know it's fading slightly, but fading right out to almost white at the bottom. That was an absolute hard no. The survey went out to the fans, and that was the same. But if you have any favoured kits that you like, I mean, one of the things that gets debated sometimes is around blue shorts. I quite like when they changed to blue shorts, but would we like it? We had it once, didn't we, in recent history? Would we like it if we played in blue shorts for a season? You know, maybe not the most urgent of topics, but it is a topic that if we don't discuss now, the timeline's been and gone, and the kits have decided. So this is the only time we can have an input. So I will get brief about it, because we just had a transfer window, and then we're talking about kits for 26, 27, but it's the timeline. So yeah.
No, all good. All good. Obviously, we're now in injury time for the podcast. As much as we'd love to stay on until we finalise these signings, it's not something that we can necessarily do, because we've got jobs and we've got to get up in the morning, and it takes a while to finish these off and get them uploaded and everything. As people have said, it is a privilege to have a podcast, and that privilege comes with a hell of a lot of work in the background. But Mark, is there any questions here you want to grab before we wrap it up?
I'll try and whiz through them quick. Rovers still trying to think it should be unregistered. I think that's been answered on social media. I think Scott Wharton can be unregistered, so that should be that one. What to talk of moving away from Macron? Not heard that. I think the deal might be up at the end of the 26-27 season. To be fair, supply issues, there haven't really been any. I know we've run out of in the shop, but it's been a bit of a supply and demand thing where the club have ordered a certain amount. They have upped it again. They've upped it again this year. And Macron seems to have sent them in quite a timely manner when they've asked for them. So that's pretty standard. And you have more flexibility with Macron than you would like an Adidas. They're pretty standard kits. Blue shorts reminds me of the Lonsdale kit, Savage and Mickey Gray. Yeah. And then, yeah. There we go.
Yeah, well, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. We do enjoy doing them live. We can't necessarily do them all the time, but we have enjoyed doing it today. We will do some more in the future, and when we become massive and that we can quit our jobs and do this full time, we'll actually stay up late for you. But for now, Mark, it's been nice to be positive. We've been talking wins, we're talking transfers. We're going to get a couple of lads in tonight so we can do a positive podcast next week. Are you all feeling good? Enjoyed it?
I am. Do you know what, Mike? It's been nice to do this. There's a few saying Scott Wharton isn't registered, so you know that one will rumble on into the night. Your joke about the Do the club know about the registration issue? I hope we are not talking about that in the next pod. Let's put it that way.
Let's be positive, mate. We've got to be positive. That's what people are here to listen to, us being positive. And Mark, I've enjoyed it. Thanks for joining me. Everyone in the comments, thanks for joining us. And we'll see you next time. But remember to make sure you do share the pod and help us grow, because if you help us grow, we can do more things for you and try and improve your experience, our experience, and we can all just enjoy being Rovers fans once again. But we'll see you next week with 3 points, through in the cup, loads of new signings, and we'll all enjoy ourselves. So see you next time.